welcome to Hops and Highways, your weekly newscast dedicated to the road building industry. My name is Jessica Lombardo, and I am editor of Asphalt Contractor Magazine, joined today by Dormy Roberts, who is the associate editor. And like we do every week, we're going to unpack some infrastructure news and share some best practices with you about removing asphalt buildup from your dump, your tools, and more. First, we want to congratulate our koozie winner for this week. It is Kurt Whittington, who is the street foreman for the city of Council Bluffs.
So congratulations, Kurt. We will make sure to get that out to you. So first, we're going to talk about our beers. This week, I have Sun Crusher, which is a hoppy wheat ale by Revolution Brewing Company in Chicago. It is definitely a lighter hop to it, but it's citrus, perfect for summer, great beer all around. Jess, what are you drinking?
So today I have a Busch Light Apple for me. I needed something a little light today, so I just went for my favorite Busch Light Apple. So cheers, Dormy.
Cheers.
Some technical difficulties today. Sorry, everybody. So the past few weeks, they've been dominated by talks of an infrastructure bill, and this week is really no different. So the initial American Jobs Plan laid out by Biden is obviously a Democratic plan, but Republican leaders have released a counteroffer to his $1.9 trillion American Jobs Plan, and it calls for a new 5-year, $360 billion surface transportation reauthorization law that focuses mostly on repairing our existing networks of roads and bridges, and we are all for that.
And it includes $299 billion for roads and bridges, $65 billion for broadband, $44 billion for airports, and $13 billion for safety, among other things. It also prioritizes maintaining existing formulas and discretionary grant programs for the Surface Transportation Program.
So it also appears to feature a $65 billion increase in highway funding over 5 years, averaging $13 billion annually, while slightly reducing public transit spending from current levels. And it also is right now it lacks the necessary details for a full analysis, but Capito said the plan conveys they are ready to sit down and work with Democrats.
The plan also calls for modernizing the permit process and removing those regulatory burdens. It includes reauthorization funding suggestions plus supplemental spending, while the Biden plan only proposes supplemental spending. The administration is expected to release details on its reauthorization bill at a later date.
So the biggest question that we always have for any infrastructure plan that they have put out there is how it's going to be paid for. And Republicans have said that they are not going to support an increase to the corporate tax rate as Biden has laid out with his plan. Instead, Republicans are proposing to fully offset the cost of their plan by repurposing unspent federal funds, including COVID-19 relief, and ensuring all users, including those who drive electric vehicles, pay for the system use.
And the next steps is the EPW committee is expected to move the highway policy portion of the surface transportation legislation in May. So by proposing funding levels for public transportation and highway safety programs, the GOP proposal will spur further conversations among other relevant Senate committees. So the current surface transportation law is set to expire September 30th, and the GOP plans finding common bipartisan ground on new highway public transportation authorization law that will require a 60-vote threshold to advance to the Senate. So let's drink to that. Cheers.
Cheers.
The Republicans' plan is important because user-based fees to pay for our roadways are vital to maintaining the Highway Trust Fund. And I hear Jess talk about this, and I really haven't gotten into the Highway Trust Fund. So we're going to go into it a little bit more today.
Yeah, it's a complicated topic, but basically the Highway Trust Fund, it uses established federal gas tax money to help fund our nation's roads, bridges, and highways. Each time you fill up your gas tank, you are helping to pay for the roads that you're using. In fact, roughly 51% of road and bridge projects in the United States are funded through the use of the Highway Trust Fund.
The issue with the driver-funded program, however, is that the current gas tax hasn't been raised since 1993, and the user fee has not been indexed for inflation. So add this to the fact that cars are increasing fuel economy and consumers are leaning towards hybrid vehicles. We're talking that we're going to be in big trouble for infrastructure funding. So since 2008, Congress has transferred $157 billion in general fund revenue to shore up that highway trust fund.
And every year they just have to transfer more and more money to that fund because states are still relying on those funds to pay for their projects. So user fees are obviously vital to the way we fund our roads, and absence from the administration's tax increase proposals are initiatives to keep the federal highway trust fund solvent. Congressional leaders, they kind of fear that raising the gas tax is political suicide. So that's kind of why it hasn't been done over the years. And it doesn't seem like the administration wants to do that this year either. But other options are going to be needed if we want to preserve that user pay principle. This is why the Republican plan to include a user-based fee is so important.
And the industry has urged a user-based fee to pay for nothing than further increase the reliance of the Highway Trust Fund on revenue streams untethered from use, as well as general fund bailouts that would not only fail to address the core fiscal challenges of the present, it would threaten the future health of America's highways.
So congressional leaders from both sides of the aisle have expressed the desire for a user-based fee as a pay-for. And Democratic chairman of the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee, Tom Carper, he said that things that are worth having are worth paying for, and that people who are using our roads, highways, and bridges, they really have an obligation to help pay for them. And we're okay with that. We'll drink to it. Cheers.
Cheers. Yesterday was Earth Day, and the asphalt industry has been known as a top recycler and greener option for road building. So with the Biden administration making the climate change fight a top priority, it's important for contractors to continue to position asphalt as the most sustainable and resilient resource. And a new report has been released backing this claim.
Yeah, so Auburn University's Benjamin Bowers and Fan Gu, they provided the first compilation of information about resilience for the asphalt industry. And it includes recommendations for the industry, transit agencies, and research to further enhance the resilience of asphalt pavements and the communities that they serve. The report, which was published by the National Asphalt Pavement Association, it documents innovative use of existing technologies and practices that enhance the resilience of the asphalt pavements and, importantly, transportation networks as a whole.
And the report also features a case study from Interstates 680 and 29 in Iowa, which flooded twice in a span of 3 months in 2019. The case study explored 2 techniques to reopen those roadways in just days, saving $200,000 per day in user delay costs, clearly demonstrating the value of rapid construction with asphalt pavement.
Yeah, so as the future of our infrastructure talks kind of commence and people want to know what that looks like, resiliency is a big deal to the Biden administration, and it's important to keep asphalt pavements in that conversation. Not only are they sustainable and resilient, but they also are less expensive to produce and they create less carbon emissions over their lifetime than concrete. Let's drink to lay that black gold.
Cheers. So one article that was trending this week was about cleaning your dump bed after unloading asphalt. So we're going to talk about how to keep things clean. Once buildup starts on a truck bed, it will continue to grow on subsequent loading, so making it more difficult to release that load throughout the day. As the buildup intensifies, the bed becomes more and more difficult to clean at the end of a job.
So in addition to problems with the dump and the bed buildup that remains in the truck bed, it will cool and cure. And if portions of that cooled asphalt break off the following haul, this partially cool mix is not consistent with the new load. And so that inconsistent mix can lead to a section of the pavement with varying properties like segregation.
And many companies and contractors have historically used diesel fuel to prevent asphalt from sticking to their trucks. But at $3.50 a gallon and an average throughput of 100 truckloads per day, a fortune is spent on this problem. So many states have regulations that prohibit the use of diesel fuels for this purpose, and we can see why.
I've seen it on job sites. You're just spraying the bed down. And not only is that option costly, like Dormy mentioned, but it's also not environmentally friendly to use precious diesel fuel as a release agent. And, it is Earth Week after all. So in addition to the environmental and cost consideration, you're also going to weaken the asphalt by using diesel. Diesel fuel, it does prevent sticking, but it also breaks down the asphalt binder in the hot mix, which can cause problems with the new pavement.
And instead, you should use an asphalt release agent. So silicone emulsion technology is used these agents to form a thin temporary coating on the truck bed, which prevents the asphalt from sticking. These agents can be applied with a standard garden sprayer, but are often either diluted on site in tote bins or used with a proportioning system that draws the appropriate mix of water and chemical from the plant's water system and the drum.
So while the primary market for asphalt release agents are at the production plants, the secondary market is for paving crews for use on their equipment and tools. So paving crews will sometimes use a release agent on the paver bin and the screed to prevent asphalt from sticking.
And asphalt will also stick to compact rollers and tires, especially when the compactor is cold, such as start up in the morning or even sitting idle for an extended period of time. So it's important to differentiate between compactors that have steel rollers and those with pneumatic rollers. So a steel roller can usually just be sprayed with water and asphalt will not stick. However, pneumatic rollers will require that release agent.
So if your crew is using diesel, soy, or an orange-based release agent, you're running the risk of damaging these tires on your pneumatic rollers and could see premature wear. Adding a soap-based release agent will not harm the tires, but they generally are not as effective for the tacky mixes.
And tools such as shovels, rakes, screeds, and more will also benefit from an asphalt release agent, as it will prevent sticking on the tool surface as well as the asphalt mix that is spread and worked. So remember, it is important to prevent sticking in the first place by applying a release agent that is cleaned to the tool after it has been. It's more difficult to clean that tool after that asphalt has solidified. So that's all that we have for you today. Congratulations again to Kurt, who won our Hops and Highways koozie this week. Make sure you join us next week for your chance to see if you won.
Yes, so next week is also a really big week in the industry. It's National Work Zone Safety Awareness Week. And all week long, we're going to be highlighting you guys out in the field. It's called the Faces Behind the Barrel campaign. I've reached out to some of you to ask some questions, get some pictures of you, and you'll see those contractors featured all next week on our Facebook page. It's really important that we keep working to educate the traveling public about you guys out there risking your lives every day to build our roads. And they need to pay attention, slow down, move over, and save your lives every day. So make sure you also plan to join us next week on the show. We're going to be talking to Julie Reitzman, who is president of Maintenance Coatings, and she's going to share with us why her company is involved in associations like ATSA and how those involvements are helping them to keep their crews safer through innovation. So we are really excited for next week, Work Zone Safety Awareness Week. It should be every week in our opinion, but we're going to highlight it next week and can't wait to see you then. Until then, stay safe out there, guys, and cheers.
Cheers.
Watch Hops and Highways live every Friday at 3 p.m. on Asphalt Contractors' Facebook page, or catch the replay on forconstructionpros.com/videos.